Well, dude, first off, I appreciate you doing this. We haven't had a video in a long time. It's been like a month. Obviously, you're from my neck of the woods in Ohio, so I think it's fitting for the first interview down here to be someone from Ohio. There's a lot of ways I want to start with this, but this is your now fourth school, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's kind of, I guess, start with Ohio State and kind of work our way, to now, I guess. So I'm kind of interested, like, what was the high school recruiting process like for you? Because I know you walked on at Ohio State, and can you take me back to that?
So, around that time, just getting through COVID, nobody knew what was going on. 2020 class was getting extra years, and so my class kind of got swept under the rug. Unless you were a true, like, 5-star going to be starting, like Travion Henderson, the guys that were my teammates at OSU, there wasn't many scholarships to go around in my class. So I had one full scholarship offer to Fordham, but that whole story is a little long to explain why I chose not to go there. And then I had a bunch of walk-on offers, and Cincinnati, Michigan State, Ohio State, and I was originally committed to Michigan State at first. But being a walk-on, not from a really wealthy family, they sent me what it would cost for a year there, and I was like, I called OSU, and I was like, hey, is that offer still there? They're like, yes. So, unfortunately, I switched on April Fool's Day, which confused a lot of people. Yeah. But I ultimately chose to walk on to OSU, which is a PWO. It's a little different, but it's they want you on the team, but they don't have a scholarship. And so I went there. I was like, I want to play at the biggest level. I'm gonna grind when I get there and do the best I can, and it's kind of what I did.
Was that like, you think the big thing, because like a lot of kickers, the kicking camps is huge where you kind of get those offers. With COVID and all that, you weren't able to go to that, and that was probably a big factor.
Yeah, there was no college camps my senior season. So when I went in my junior year, I had a bunch of contacts of coaches like, yeah, we're going to keep in contact, follow you, whatever. Yeah. All vanished the next season. So.
Yeah, and then you were there the year, and then you decided to transfer to McNeese. Can you kind of talk about what that first time in the portal was kind of like, and what kind of prompted that for you?
So that was really early. The portal wasn't super as dynamic it is today, and so what led me to hop in the portal that first time, I thought I'd been working my tail off there, and I wasn't truly seeing an opportunity for me, to get a scholarship or find the field at all. I was one of the original people to convince Noah Ruggles to stay at OSU.
Yeah.
And I was willing to sit another year, be a walk-on, take on a bunch of extra debt because, he was my mentor. I could learn from him. But when they just kept adding people to the room, like it was a wide receiver group, and 3 people are playing at one time, there's not much competition. You only get 10 minutes of practice for kicking. And during that time, most of the time they're doing schemes for like punt or kickoff or, so the kicking competition would involve around 2 kicks.
Yeah.
And you can't compete.
There's not enough for that. And then, so you decided to go down to like Louisiana there, right? That's what.
Yep.
So
Southwest Louisiana.
Yeah. So what'd you kind of like learn about yourself during that time? Because that was when you first really got action, and especially at a good school like that, it's a big FCS school.
Well, and not many people knew at the time when I was going down there. My plan was to go down there and graduate in 2 years and leave. Yeah. That was not a home destination for me because I felt like I could play bigger ball. And going down there, I really learned a lot about, there's a difference between being a scholarship guy and a walk-on guy. Not that I don't appreciate my time as a walk-on. I learned a lot. The hard work ethic and
it started your journey.
It's led me what I am today. But going down there, being able to build that confidence in me, because when I was at OSU, I didn't think I could do it. I was losing my mind there.
Yeah.
I thought I wasn't good enough to play college football.
Yeah.
And so when I left the McNeese and I got that confidence back in me, a coaching staff that actually put faith in me, and then, being able to present myself and put it out on the field, it really boosted what I could do. And it really drove me to do more.
Yeah, do you think, like looking back now, just having the name of Ohio State really helped you, like in the portal? Because you didn't get the,
Absolutely. And it's not that it's everything, but there's guys that are walk-ons at smaller schools, and then they leave, and there's not many opportunities for them.
That's what I was kind of wondering about,
But and McNeese wasn't just handed to me either.
Yeah.
It was more of just my high school head coach called out their head coach because he used to coach in Tiffin, which is right down the way from me. And it was like, you need a kicker? They're like, yeah. And so I just went down there, and the guy that recruited me ended up leaving after 2 months, but he was the one that put that plan in my head. When they first called me, I thought it was McNeese State.
Yeah.
And second, I was like, do I really want to go to FCS?
Yeah.
And little did I know, it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, and now everybody knows that because of the NCAA tournament, March Madness,
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's kind of like a world of like who you know at times. Like really,
Absolutely,
really
networking is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got an extensive list on my phone of just college coaches across the country, in which I want to get into coaching. But like networking is huge.
Yeah, and then after that, you come back. I'm gonna stay home because Akron's not too far. You come back home to Akron. What kind of like sparked that? Cause like I know you talked about originally like you didn't really necessarily want to go to FCS. It was always wanting to get back to FBS. I assume, right?
Yep. Going to Akron, usually when I entered the portal, the first school that reached out, that's the school I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
They're the person that put the most interest in me first. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm not going to wait. I don't want to be stuck in this portal, potentially not find a school.
Yeah.
So when Akron reached out, it was kind of like another blessing in disguise. A, they were playing my former team first game of the season, and B,
I was at that game too.
Really? Yeah. So first game of the season, playing my former team, and second, kind of felt bad the last 2 years. My parents were 1,800 miles away, so it was like I gotta, give them a chance to actually get to see me play. And now I'm in Florida, so sorry.
About 1,800 miles.
Yep. So, but no, it was really just honestly, coaches mean a lot, and like when you hear a good coach and what they're saying, and it's not like a used car sales pitch, like it makes you want to be there. Mind you, I love the coaches at Akron, but there's a reason I left, and it wasn't because of them.
Yeah.
But it was just like coaches are like fundamental of where players want to go, and a lot of schools don't get that, and a lot of kids don't get that.
Yeah, it's funny because I even like talk about it because I live right by Memorial Spring Training, but my family's up there, and you hear about that through the developmental of single A, double A, triple A, like the different coaches. Guys all have great seasons in double A, they go triple A. They didn't lose what they did, just coaching. Like they want them to switch, a different pitch, or they lose all what they kind of want. So what I was kind of getting at, which I promised after this one. So then after that, you said to go to FAU. Like, what was where we're at now? Why'd you kind of decide to do that?
So, 3 years, 3 losing seasons, and it's not that I don't think Akron can do it. I just know being there, all credit Joe Moorhead, but that is the toughest place to like win at. There's not much.
That and Penn State.
There's not much for them to like really draw talent there. And, I've spent, when I was at McNeese, I donated plasma to get by. At Akron, I was eating off of ramen the whole time. Like, I wanted to be comfortable, I wanted to win, I wanted to enjoy my last year of college football. And so, ultimately leaving is like between here, San Jose, and Mizzou. And San Jose was a great spot. I loved the coaches. Mizzou, basically BS from the Power 5 school, and, well, not Power 4, but, not where I want to be to excel. And here it was everything: academics, like food, nutrition, and the coaches.
And you're in a beautiful spot.
And it's paradise.
Yeah.
So everything that I ever wanted out of college, I think ultimately this was where I needed to be.
Yeah, I didn't want to like go through your whole like career like that. The reason why I did at the same time was I feel like a lot of people they use the portal and it's very unsuccessful for them.
Mm-hmm.
You were one of the guys I noticed that had so much success and it was good for you. And like it didn't, a lot of guys, they go to 4 or 5 schools and they never play versus where they could just stay and maybe get a chance, but you use that for your success. So I don't know if you kind of want to add on anything with that.
A lot of it, like I said, I've never regretted entering the portal.
Yeah.
Not that I've like missed some people, but every time I've done it, I've always done it to better myself. Leaving OSU, yes, I could have stayed there and potentially played a year and going $100,000 in debt and got to play for my own school and all this other stuff. But ultimately, I knew I could play, and I wanted to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So I left to get a scholarship, and once I left to get a scholarship, I graduated from that school in 2 years from there, and I left to play at a higher level. And then now I'm leaving to play, necessarily the same you can consider, but I think a higher level than that.
It's a jump.
But it's putting me where I can train year round. I have better resources around me for my final jump. You know, if I'm gonna try my best to make it to the NFL, this is ultimately what was the best spot for me.
Yeah. And people don't realize, but it is a lot more just affordable just being able to be outside and not have to pay. I mean, I remember when I was at Lafayette, we would train in like New York, bro. People don't realize like it's like $80 per car for an hour, you know, workout. Like there's a lot of things that they don't realize unless you're at a big school. You have to pay for that yourself.
Yes.
So you kind of talked about that goal of yours. So what's like I feel like when you go into a season, you have a lot of small goals. That we did that one big goal. Obviously, probably the big goal will be the NFL. But what are your small goals going into this year?
This year, you know, I've never been under 80%, but I definitely want to increase. You know, I haven't kicked over 16 field goals in a season, which is a very low number.
Yeah.
I had got 11 my first year, 10 my second year, and that's one a game, which is really low. So either hoping my offense scores a ton of field goals or a ton of points this year, but I want to get my field goal percentage at least above 90 this year. Stay above that, no missed extra points. Graduate in December, and honestly, I already beat my summer bench press that I wanted to hit, but increase, like, I don't know, you see a lot of these kickers and they're either super skinny or some are jacked. I want to be in that middle, jacked, and you know. Yeah. So big goals is just improve on everything that I've done. Stay on that.
So how do you kind of what you're talking about, like the weight be right there in the middle? Like what's your kind of like diet like to get in that? Because I feel like a lot of times in offseason people overwork themselves to a point and then they're tired going into the season. How do you kind of find that like balance?
A lot of that is knowing your body. You know, going into year 5. I can't kick as much as I did in high school. I used to kick 2,000 footballs a week in high school. If I come close to that, you'll see me in the ER. So finding that balance is just knowing your body. And like now I know if I do a heavy leg day, you know, give myself Tuesdays of rest and then I'll go kick. Or it's also doing productive work. Like I could go out and kick every single day, but if it's not meaningful practice, it's not going to do me anything. So it's making sure that I'm doing meaningful stuff while monitoring my health. And especially at this level, like I have to monitor how I'm feeling. If I start feeling an ache somewhere, I'm in the training room. Because that ache can mean way more than, because I tore my hamstring. Not many people know that either.
That's crazy.
I tore my hamstring, it was a slight tear, first day of fall camp last season. Yeah, and I somehow got back for that OSU game.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing. So I never really asked, but how did you get into kicking? Because a lot of guys, you know, they played soccer. Or is that what you?
So I played soccer basically from 4 years old to 16 when I was a sophomore in high school, and I was literally in and out of club training, like all over the place. And so I took a year off from club ball before I went to high school, so my parents didn't have to spend an arm and a leg for it. And during that time, my dad's like, "Have you ever thought about kicking a football?" And I was like, "No, I mean, I want to go to college for soccer. I've done it my whole life." He's like, "Let's just go to the field and try it." And so I went out there, and naturally I could kick a football pretty well. And he's like, "If you make a 35-yard field goal before summer, whatever it was, I'll let you go out for 8th grade football." So I was like, okay. I never hit a 35-yard field goal before I went in. But my dad did it anyways, and I went out, and freshman year, I was still training, and I found myself training more for football than I did soccer at that point. Because
that's kind of where you find the sport you do. That's what I noticed.
And so I started training way more for football than soccer because I've been playing soccer so much that it was like secondhand nature. Like I could go out.
That's right. I mean, I played soccer and switched to tennis. So that was my sport.
And so I started varsity on soccer team as a 4'9" freshman, and it was like, I didn't need to really train that much, but I was going to be on the JV team for football and kicking. That bothered me. It was like, if I'm going to be the best at something, I'm going to be the best at something. And so I kept training around it. And one of the starting kicker at the time, my freshman year, loved him to death. A great dude. Unfortunate thing happened to him. And he even says it. It really sprung me because he tore his ACL and meniscus when we were at a soccer scrimmage. And then I got bumped to varsity, and ever since then, it was like no looking back.
Mm-hmm.
I just started pouring my heart and soul into it. Once I got into those Friday night lights, football took over my world, man.
Yeah, that's crazy because it's funny when you talk about it because that's kind of where you find that love for the game. Did you play anything else, or you're a golf guy at all? Because a lot of kickers are golf guys.
Listen, I got into golfing last year, and I'm not good. I played basketball in high school. Not great at that.
Yeah.
Genetically not gifted for it. But I did it to stay in shape.
But all those sports help you as a football player now.
Yes and no. We had a guy, his name was Griffin Brenner in Norwalk, and he was by far one of the best punters I'd ever seen. But he played every sport known to man. And he tore his ACL and both his legs 3 times.
That's insane.
The cadavers. He tore everything.
Do you think that's just genetic? That's gotta be part of
It was because he played every sport known to man.
Yeah.
And so he never gave himself time to rest.
Right,
He never focused on one thing.
You gotta give that a couple months.
Yeah, and so this kid could have gone D1 scholarship hunting. He had an offer to Cincinnati, all gone because he has no knees.
That's insane.
And it's just because he wanted to play every sport.
Yeah.
It was like, that's cool, but I mean, now the dude jumps out of helicopters, who am I kidding? He's still doing some cool stuff, but he could have, he was gifted at punting, man. And so it comes back to that balance of finding what you want to do and managing it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool too because a lot of people they're afraid to leave their home, and you've kind of went to a bunch of different places. You've kind of had a lot of cool different life experiences you never would have had. Can you kind of speak to that and what is it like going to this new area every year you have been for the past few years?
Well, it's crazy that you say that. In a year span, I was in 3 different states living. So, but I would say, because I'm more of I like trying new stuff. I'll eat any food you put in front of me. And so leaving to Louisiana, I was like, that was my first time leaving Ohio. And I was like, how am I going to adjust? But I'm like, I'm never going to know if I don't do it.
Sure.
Why not try it?
Yeah.
Travel, do stuff, And I think a lot of it is just, really getting out of your own shell, leaving Ohio for the first time. I wasn't nervous, but it was just it was a cultural shock when I got down there.
Yeah. Once you actually do it, it's when you kind of you just gotta do it.
Mm-hmm. And so it's don't hesitate, but make sure you're making informed decisions. When I knew when I was going to Louisiana, I did my research on where I'd be living and everything, and it's just was I nervous about going down there because Lake Charles has high crime rates?
Yeah.
No. But did it make me think maybe I shouldn't do certain stuff while I'm there? Yes. So it's just but I did. Lake Charles is a beautiful place. Great town. And the community, and that's the biggest thing people don't realize. Lake Charles or all of Louisiana, the community, the people you meet, they're so nice and welcoming. And it's just when I got down there, it was I didn't skip a beat. It was home.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing too. Once you get adjusted, you find your spots and what you kind of want to do. You were just talking about fishing. I bet that's probably going to become a big hobby of yours down here.
Well, I got a fishing rod there, and my grandpa gave me a bunch of fishing rods because he lives in Florida, in Winter Haven area.
Okay, yeah.
I fish here all the time, at least once or twice a week.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited to do.
Yeah, it's. You can't find a better place for it. You got saltwater, freshwater, all sorts of fish. I'm big into peacock bass fishing.
Yeah.
There's snakehead.
How far are you guys? Not that far, right?
1.8 miles, as the stadium says.
Do you fish on the ocean or no?
I fish in the intercoastal.
Okay.
It's right over here.
Oh, really?
You can get about anything. So tarpon. So.
Yeah. Get some jack or something.
Yep.
That's why I always in Jupiter we catch a ton of jack. But what they're doing up there is there's a big story off the coast. They chum the water so much.
Really?
So now all the there's just a ton of lemon sharks and everything. So when we take the boat out, we'll catch tuna and we can never bring it in because the shark will eat it. Dude, we don't even go out anymore. We only fish because it's I'll show you this on TikTok. But there's a huge story on it. The Jupiter, they're looking into it because they chum the water so bad up there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think one day we went 1 for 10.
Wow.
We would see it and then
just a shark would come up
and then you just have a head.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We didn't. Me and Jackson Lee, this long snapper here, we drove down to the Keys, which I thought would be a lot longer of a drive. It's only like 2.5.
Because you still key water.
Yeah. And so we drove down to the Keys. I come 8-foot nurse down there. But like down here, you can fish for whatever. There's so much stuff to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into everything a little bit more. I want to take like the kayaks out and go like just.
Dude, I would love to get a kayak, but I've got other expenses I need to worry about more. So.
Yeah, I think correct me if I'm wrong. I want to talk about your schedule. Do you have Florida week 1, or do you guys? When do you have?
No, that's next year.
Next year. Okay.
So week 1 we have Maryland at Maryland.
Okay. So like, what do you guys when do you guys kind of get focused on the first? Like, I know like you're always preparing for the first game, but like actually looking at their tape and like.
Well, I can confidently say as a kicker, I don't look at anybody's tape unless it's kickoff, and even then, it's like just kick it out of the back of the end zone. So, but I would say, being around, our coaches have been watching their tape since week whatever after the season. Like they knew they were playing Maryland. They were watching Maryland all last year, and so it's just like preparing. It never stops. At Akron, we were watching OSU's tape, even when I was on my visit, and they were watching the next people's tape, and they make their diagnosis of what they need to address when they're practicing very early, and then when they start doing a deep dive, that's around fall camp.
Well, and it's kind of an interesting dynamic team. I think you guys just brought like 20 transfer guys in the spring class, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So like, because you're a new coach, I feel like it's a good time to transition to a team because a lot of guys are like new to the area.
Yeah. Well, but that's the whole thing with the transfer portal era is just like when a new coach took over, he couldn't just like go out and grab players and cut people. And so with this, I've been a part of 3 different teams, and the only team that really didn't do that was Akron and OSU. Akron because they can, and OSU because they don't need to.
Yeah.
But McNeese, it really shot us in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
Love Gary Goff to death, but I was like mid-size on that team. I should be the shortest guy on any team.
Yeah.
I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
I should be the shortest guy on any team, and I was like middle of the pack at McNeese.
That's crazy.
At the division, and even though it's Division I AA, but still.
So FCS high level, I mean.
And everybody's trying to tell me that McNeese has always been short. And it's like, really? Because I'm watching our 5'6" receiver getting mossed on by the other team's 6'4" corner. So it's like somebody else found the talent.
Yeah. I mean, because like I remember I was at Lafayette was high level. I mean, they went to FCS playoffs. I think that was a good team. They got 4 or 5 guys in the NFL now in practice squads or whatever.
Yeah. But I will say, being here and with this coaching staff, they're very young, but they are sharks, and they are out to get some blood. So I'm excited because I've met some of the new guys that are coming in. They all seem great people, and so out of like being a part of a new team, this is the most excited I've been, just because it seems like everything's going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a good fan base. I mean, it does have a good tradition of, as far as football goes. I mean, I got the 2017 one with I think Devin Singletary's in the back of this one and everything. So.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, they got all those guys. Well, I was going to ask, well, one question I always ask, we have like a lot of high school, middle school athletes that watch this that are trying to play, college sports. Like, what's one piece of advice you'd give to them?
I would say don't stress too much about, if I'm not getting a phone call every single day, or, coaches are busy. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing is like, the more stress you put on yourself, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to like get to
trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. If you're good, you'll be found. If you're not, go be found. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying people aren't good, but it's just like there's so many athletes and there's so much film for coaches to get through. So like Twitter or X now, that's your best friend. Michigan State didn't know who I was until they saw a 57-yard field goal on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And
that's what a lot of guys do. I mean, I always think about Jason Preston, who played at OU back in the day, played for the Clippers. He was just hooping at the rec, and he saw his video, and then OU got offered him. And
And that's the thing, is just like, Twitter's your best friend. Be proactive. Social media, don't be stupid on it, because people look at it. Like, there should be, if you have a Twitter account, it needs to be just your football or your sport or whatever.
Yeah, people even want you to like. That's why I always tell them. Like, it's
don't
crazy.
like stuff on it. Just post. Don't be annoying, and don't blow up coaches. Oh man, there's so many kids that just blow up coaches' phones. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you want to be taken off a board quicker than you think. You just start blowing up a phone.
Yeah, I also I was helping some guys like with recruiting, because for me it was like I was during COVID as well. I was 21. Yeah. But my big thing was just I emailed any coach I could, but you have to a purpose with it. I think a lot of people, they have 8 different purposes in their message. Why are you actually reaching out to them? You know what I mean? A lot of people have a lot of messaging around it. You know.
Yeah. I mean, when I entered the portal this last time, I was like, screw it, I'm gonna be proactive and message coaches, but I have stats and film to throw behind it. So I sent out a generic message with the coach's name to start with. It would just be fill coach's name here, delete, type, copy, and then San Jose offered me because of that, and then even FAU, mind you, they knew who I was because they were in the process of leaving Texas Tech, and Texas Tech was looking at me at the time. So, but being proactive but being smart about it is the best way. Don't just, hey coach, yada yada yada. Write something out, reread it, give it to your dad if you have to, let him reread it, make sure get to the point, prove that point, thank that coach for their time, and most
even taking a phone call, a lot of people can't pick up the phone.
And that's the thing, is just but don't spam. If they don't respond, who cares? Next person. But out of the 100 messages I sent, I probably got about 30 responses.
You have to be willing to take that.
Right. But that percentage only went up as more as I put out. And so, like I said, put yourself out there.
So you kind of had a short list going into this last year, did you?
No, I mean, I didn't message anybody that I didn't want to go to. Because again, there's places that you want to go to and you don't. And so before I would send that message, I would do, what's the roster like? What are my chances, having to compete? What's a scholarship look like? Because at this point, any team would take me as a walk-on. I can be I can text most people, you can text any coach, except now if they change this roster.
Akron, you play McNeese,
But you can text anybody and be like, hey, can I get a walk-on spot? And if you're good enough, they'll it does nothing to them. They're not spending money. They're not doing nothing. You don't take up a roster spot really. So, but
it's where you want that scholarship.
Yeah, it's where you can succeed, and that's the thing. I think a lot of kids try to chase money and all this other stuff, but it ends up shooting them in the foot.
Well, it's also with your position. If you get a scholarship there, it's we want you as the guy. It's kind of like that reassurance. Because whereas when you're a wide receiver, a lot of guys go down. There's opportunity to play more. Whereas a kicker.
Yeah, and that's not the same as a quarterback. There's 4 scholarships in a room. Kicker, there's usually 1. But don't get me wrong, it's still a competition.
It's still a competition.
If you lose that competition, you're still benched. But no, I mean, and then that's the thing that really when I got to McNeese was the thing is getting that scholarship and having that confidence behind you. It's a game changer.
Well, I always finish off with this last question. So when your career is over down the line, hopefully way down the line, how do you want to be remembered?
I've been thinking about that a lot, and I know I'm going to hang up the cleats here eventually, and whether that's sooner or later, that's all how I decided this season. But there's a joke that goes around, everybody only remembers the kickers that miss, so I hope they forgive me.
That's a good one. Well, I appreciate it. I always appreciate having an Ohio guy down here, and it's fitting to be the first one, so I appreciate it.